Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Honest Vibes Only. The trio is back, and today we are filming our first episode officially for this project. So, you guys know quite a bit about me and my backstory, but you guys might not be as familiar with Kevin or Keaton's story and their journey with chess. So, today I thought I'd let them kind of take over and kind of talk to you guys about their experience with chess and their journeys and their parallels between life and chess that they faced while being in this kind of sphere. So, take it away, guys.
Sounds good. You want to go first, Katie?
Sure, I can handle the challenge. No, but no, thanks for the intro, Devina, and we'll see how this goes. But yeah, the um just in terms of like chess and having an impact on my life, like I went from zero contact with the chess world to all of a sudden discovering it after watching this amazing TV show, and just found myself wanting to learn more and more. Like my first ever experience with chess was trying to play it when I was 8 years old against my brother, who's 5.5 years older than me, and then against my dad, and both of them took no mercy. So I just lost like 100 games, and then I was like, I never want to touch this ever again. So that's why it took until age 26 or whatever it was for me to re-spark that interest. And being basically a beginner at an adult age, it was really exciting because I got to basically open a completely new book and just start learning, right? And how many times can you say in your late 20s that you're doing something completely new and developing an entirely new skill, right? And that was very exciting. But what I found was that eventually, beginners, they eventually run into resistance. And that resistance can look like a rating plateau in chess or just a lot of losses in general. So the one thing that kind of resonated with me as I reflect on my chess journey, in comparison to how it fits into the rest of my life, is that it just requires a lot of resilience. So a lot of resilience and a lot of learning. Quite literally, that's how I chose my content name, KD Learns, is because I know that I'm going to fail a lot, and I am okay with that because every failure is an opportunity to learn. And when you live life, like you have to accept that you are going to fail at times, right? Obviously, failing is not the goal, but that is just a fact of life you have to accept and to do your best. And every time you run into those roadblocks, you find a way to continue forward. And it's definitely not easy. As we kind of talked about in the first in the intro of the last episode, mental health plays a big role in this, and I kind of parallel what I expect my chess journey to look like with my 20 plus years of playing tennis. I was a collegiate tennis player, so I played on a college tennis team. And, when you have other people depending on you and you devote 20, 30 plus hours a week into this one sport, you expect to be at least functional at it. And then when you are going and playing a team match, and the whole match for the team comes down to your court, there's a lot of pressure, right? And whether you win or lose, you're going to be on either side of it. I'm pretty sure I was on both sides, winning and losing that final match 50-50 of the time. So
And KD, I think usually in chess we don't have that kind of pressure. Most of the time we're just playing for ourselves.
right. Right. But at the same time, in chess there can still be a lot of eyes on you. And
Absolutely.
sometimes there's team events, but usually it's individual. And if you're a person that likes to hang out in the online chess community, well, your account is public, so people can even see your games. Or if you're playing in a sub battle for some streamer, like there's some extent there are going to be like moments where your chess is public, but whether it's public or it's just your friends or your parents or anyone that can see your chess, it's still putting something out there for others to view, right?
Definitely. Yeah,
And
there's not much privacy in the chess world.
right, right,
And sometimes
right.
like the pressure you put on yourself can be equivalent to like a whole team's worth of pressure. Like, because,
Yes.
sometimes we're playing for like a really big tournament. It's like the final game, or, we're in a big game, but there's time pressure and we're trying to convert or we're trying to hold on. So like there's a lot of different forms of pressure as well.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess the parallel is that in those critical moments when there's time pressure or there's just pressure on the board from your opponent, you know, it's okay to crack every now and then, right? Or it's okay to crack up plenty of times, because when you do crack, you learn from it, and you have to be constructive, right? And I think that's something that I do more with my chess now than I did with tennis. Because in college, one of those times when I did lose that deciding match, it was at 3 a.m. Like the tennis match started at 9 p.m. It was just an absolute war. And I lost for the team at 3 a.m. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, I was basically so defeated by that loss that I could not be functional on the tennis court for the rest of the season. So I
Wow.
got pulled from the lineup, and from my 20-year-old self, I just viewed like my tennis career as destroyed and everything was just ruined, and I even wanted to just quit entirely. So fortunately, I found some strength in my teammates, and just for the joy of the sport that I made it through that time. But it was definitely a dark time, and um, there are a lot of challenges. Just basically trying to convince myself it was okay, it's in the past, and we can move forward. And with chess, I haven't reached that point of criticality yet, where I've invested so much into it, where I feel that crazy amount of pressure. But as someone that likes to get better at things, which I think is everyone in the world, I did get frustrated when I was hitting that rating plateau, and it was like, okay, either I can just stop, or I can, start thinking critically, consult friends like Keaton and some other friends that were better at chess than me, and find a way forward. And I think the message, at least for me, tennis, my teammates really helped me through a dark time. For chess, even the challenges I've faced so far with the rating plateau, Keaton and other friends have really helped me finally break through it recently. So yeah, I think it's just really important that to acknowledge that there will be hard times, and it's okay, and you can leverage the fact that you're not actually alone. Even though chess is an individual sport, there are friends, are resources that can help you enjoy your time and enjoy the journey, and hopefully make a little bit of progress and learn a little bit something new along the way.
Wow, I love that, Kitty. That's a beautiful message. And if I can, I want to kind of run from there a little bit with what you were just saying about shortcomings and about failure. And I think a little bit further back, you said it's like, well, obviously you don't want to fail. So that really spoke to me with regard to an important lesson that I've been learning recently, and that is exactly how do you handle and balance failure, basically, or just when life doesn't go your way,
Mm,
when things just don't go the way you want, when you're having a tough go of it, because so you mentioned, well, obviously we don't want that, right? We don't try for failure, but yet we find the good in it, and we have to move forward. We have to be able to find the good in what we see as bad, because that's what gives us resilience.
right.
And I think recently within myself, I've started to incorporate this lesson a little more. And the way I've been doing it is trying to find gratitude within myself for the good and the bad, because the good is good. But the bad can also be good, because what we see as negative, it purifies something within us. It makes us stronger. It makes us better. It makes us more resilient. I've come to believe that a life devoid of challenges isn't really a life worth living. I used to think I just wanted an easy life, that I just wanted a comfortable life. But then I realized there's really no such thing. No matter how good your life is, no matter how much you think you have it made, the nature of life is impermanence. Change is constant, and struggle is always going to be part of life. So the balance that I found is you don't want bad things to happen, but when they do, when you do fail, what you can do is you can have gratitude for the positive impact that that failure can have on you. And you can embrace that rather than fight it and allow it to do its work, allow it to help you. I think a key lesson that's helped me to look at failure in that way is this moment is inevitable, but the next moment is not. So no
Mm,
matter what's happening right now in this moment, it can't be any other way. So anytime we resist it, all we're going to do is create suffering within ourselves. So we always have to accept this moment. We always should accept this moment. But that doesn't mean that things have to be this way in the next moment. If there are things that should be changed, they can be changed. If there are things that should be done differently, they can be done differently. The next moment can be better. And it will be, because every moment is temporary. Change is a constant. But I think the key is to really embrace the current moment for exactly what it is. And I do believe that what creates so much suffering in people is resistance to the current moment.
And I think that's
yeah.
kind of like really parallel to like a chess game, you know. In a chess game, in a moment, it can be fine. You know, you calculate your moves, you play a move, and instantly it could be a blunder. And it's kind of like, well, do you give up on the game there? How bad is the blunder? Can you recover from
Hmm.
it? Do you keep pushing, right? There's so many games out there where people just blunder so badly and they make a comeback, right? And you keep pushing until the end, and sometimes you're completely winning, and in time pressure, all it takes is one move, and maybe a title slips out of your hands, or winning a tournament slips out of your hands. I think he and I have been in that position a lot of
Absolutely.
times. And
Too many
it's
times.
yeah, and it's heartbreaking. But it's kind of how you move on from that, what you take from it, and how you improve. And at the end of the day, step back and realize that it happened. I can't change it, but what do I do? Like, do I give up or do I keep pushing? And I think similar to what Kevin said, having that support group is really important. And I'm hoping that we all can be kind of a support group for the chess community as well, and help everyone kind of come together, because I grew up playing my whole childhood. And I never really had a support group. Like as an adult now, I find it's much easier, especially being someone in the content creation worlds and in the chess world. But back then, when I was a kid, I always felt like there was a lot of competition between kids, even if we wanted to be friends. And that could either be just because we knew we had to perform, or external pressure from parents and stuff. And sometimes it kind of made it hard to recover mentally from a really tough tournament, or like a title slipping out of my hands. That happened a lot of times. And it kind of made it hard to bounce back just because of the lack of supports back then. So yeah.
And yeah, very well said, Devina. 100% agree. I got into chess as a kid growing up in Nebraska, and this was, pre-computer era. So I was, studying chess, as best I could with books and coaches and that kind of thing. When I got to be a pretty serious intermediate level player, I started taking lessons over the phone with a Russian grandmaster who had recently moved to New York, Grandmaster Miran Shir, who was just an amazing coach. But what was funny is, there was no Skype, no Zoom, not even, internet chess club or cell phones. We were literally using a landline and a chessboard. That was how we did our lessons. And you guys had just talked about chess being a universal language, being a connector. I mean, is there any better example than, here I am, a 13-year-old kid, working with a Russian grandmaster who barely speaks English over the phone. And somehow, when we talked about chess, our communication was perfect. We really understood each other.
I have a
And
question. If you're doing lessons over the phone but no video, right? You're
no
just
video.
using a chessboard.
Hmm.
If it was there ever a time or many times when he was just spouting out moves and you couldn't move the pieces fast enough, so you're just forced to visualize? Or
Probably.
okay.
Yeah, probably so.
It's crazy, like in this modern day, how many resources are out there. And you
It's
kind of just
crazy. Yeah.
you talk about the beginning of your story, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine learning like that now.
Yeah, I guess we did because it was, it was the way to do it. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. But yeah, compared to how things are now, it's absolutely crazy.
I mean,
But
wildly impressive to say the least, though.
yeah, thank you. Well, I always had within me a deep passion for chess, and I think anything that we're passionate about, our passion always keeps us going. So,
Love
yeah.
that.
So yeah, I think chess expert at 14, master at 16. I was a many-time Nebraska state champion and Scholastic national champion. I got scholarship, a chess scholarship to the University of Texas at Dallas, where I went to college, and that was a wonderful experience. I played on the chess team there, and I studied psychology, so that was kind of my introduction to the world of psychology and mental health and trying to understand life and people, that kind of thing. I also played a lot of poker in college, so I was very very like interested in reading people and that kind of thing also. And then after I graduated with my psychology degree, I actually went right into chess instruction, and I've been a full-time chess player and instructor ever since then. And that was also around the time I got on a spiritual path and I discovered meditation and got very interested in philosophy and that kind of thing and spirituality. And ever since then, over the last 10 to 15 years, that's really blossomed and taken off in very many interesting directions. And so that's kind of been what my life has been about is chess and spirituality and meditation and finding myself and knowing myself more and more deeply and using my experience and everything that I have to try to do my best to help other people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, I've actually known you for quite some time
That's
because
true. We
yeah,
knew
back
each other
when
in Dallas when you were a
exactly.
little kid. Yeah.
I would see him like a lot of times at the chess club there at like the bigger tournaments around there. And I was not much of a talker.
Yeah,
But
you
I
were
always
you
knew
were
you.
quite shy. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So it's funny. It's just funny how time flies.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Did you two ever play any casual games at the chess club by any chance?
I think we
Um,
did play in a tournament one time when you were really young.
we might have. I played your students a lot more though.
You played my
Yeah.
students all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen so many of your games against my various students.
Oh no.
I,
I love that reaction. Oh
I think
no.
you usually beat them most of the time.
Oh man, that's just funny. But that's an awesome story though. It's an awesome story, and
Thank
what
you.
you studied in college, and some of your passions today. It definitely seems like they play in hand with helping you in your chess career as well, in
For
terms of
sure.
like
Yeah, I think everything's interrelated in that way.
yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, but yeah, you guys kind of know about me. I played chess competitively until I was about 17 or 18. I started when I was around 8 or 9. And I tended to just play in Dallas, in the Dallas area, and sometimes I would travel out and about. But I remember I was playing tournaments kind of literally every single weekend. And I was very burnt out. Um, and I think that for me, the biggest thing was just the parental pressure that kind of caused me to slowly lose my love of the game because I was actually I would be hurt whenever I would lose if it was like an important loss, you know. But I think thankfully I was able to help myself understand that I'm going to lose a lot in this super long journey, right? And it's not that I had an endpoint, right? But I just knew that as long as I played chess, there were going to be a lot of games that I lost. And the ones that hurt more, I could slowly bounce back from. But I think just the external pressure made it a lot worse for me as well. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to that kind of field. But returning to chess as an adult and being back in the chess world as a career full time the past 2 years, I've definitely learned to love the game in a different way than when I had originally started the game. And I'm able to find a lot of beauty in it in different ways that was kind of clouded for me back when I was a kid just because of things that I couldn't really control. So
And
I'm
it's very
definitely happy to be
beautiful
here.
to rediscover something in that
Yeah.
way, something that you loved and were passionate about, and then you put away, for a little bit of time. And then when you go through that process of rediscovery, there's something very powerful about that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And like chess has most definitely taught me to be resilient, to keep fighting and to, in a way, also not act immediately or react immediately to certain things. Because, when you're playing a game, and you're like, oh no, I blundered, or oh, I see this, but no, you have to, sit down, calculate it, figure out how extreme it is, how you want to respond to it. And I think I used to not be super great at that, but now that I've come back into the chess world and have a whole new perspective on it, I'm able to apply that to my life and, hopefully improve myself every day. So,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
I really like taking what Keaton said earlier and like running in that parallel to what you were saying. Like when you make that blunder, whenever we fail, we have a choice, right? Like we can fail again and blunder more, or we can, reassess and try to move forward. And I love what Keaton was saying about the impermanence because, in that moment it's inevitable that the past is the past and we have to move forward, right? And that it seems like that's what resilience is all about. Like it's just how do you move forward in the most productive and productive way, right?
Agreed.
Actually,
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like fall down 7 times, get up eight.
yeah.
Right.
You know, uh it just made me think of I had a viewer one time who had this funny quote and we were talking about losses in chess and he was like, yeah, it's funny because to fail is to learn. So it's just like but to Keaton's point, it's a choice to learn, not an automatic learning point. It's a active decision to treat it as a good that you see in the bad.
It is a choice, and I think life tends to give us the same opportunities until we grow and until we learn from them and transcend them. Lessons tend to repeat, until we get the point.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's just like me with falling for opening tricks all the time. There's like a certain line that I still don't learn, and no matter how many times I blunder against it, I'll get to it one day, I'll learn the line one day. Life and chess parallels, see, it's
The
super
universe
realistic.
is very, very patient with us. It can just keep dishing out those lessons until we get it.
Right.
Totally agreed. But yeah, that's kind of the backstory to Keaton and Katie. So again, like I said in the intro, we're all from completely different paths of life, completely different experiences with chess. Yet here we are being able to relate to each other in many ways and be able to build on each other's experiences. And We're also, all different ages as well, and we can all relate to this beautiful game. So it's kind of the goal with this podcast as well.
So well said, and it's I'm honored to be here doing this work with you guys.
Yeah, and it's an absolute blast. I mean, I was just having a ton of fun talking about this, and also just sharing experiences, and yeah, hopefully helping others relate to our stories and kind of use our blunders both in chess and in real life to their benefit, so that we failed, so that everyone else can learn.
You might
Exactly.
have to change your name to KD Fails after this.
Exactly.
But yeah, you guys now know kind of the purpose and our vision with this podcast. You guys know about me, you guys know about Katie, you guys know about Keaton now. And yeah, in the future we'll be diving into more kind of specific topics and going more into depth. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed learning more about us. Hopefully you guys were able to relate to either of us or all of us in your different ways. And again, feedback is super helpful for any future episode. So we really hope that you guys enjoyed listening. And thank you for your time to the listeners and to you guys again.